As our world races at an ever faster pace.
We'll land an airplane every 70 seconds for more than 2 hours.
And delivery deadlines shrink.
Being an island, there's a lot of medicine coming in. It's always urgent.
The skies aren't necessarily the limit for the mega movers.
Almost everything in this world you can put in this aircraft.
In this series, we go deep inside the $6 trillion air freight industry.
Every day we move the equivalent of 3% of the world's GDP.
You name it, we can move it.
Showing the people.
You have a lot of high anxiety, you don't want to do this.
They're just sitting on the runway laughing at me.
And incredible operations.
It's a little bit sticky.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
We have an aircraft on stand 666, which has got an engine for it.
We get 2 minutes to get there.
To keep this complex, high-pressure trade airborne.
There's 30 ton of weight on that aircraft. It could tip the aircraft up at worst, or it could damage the fuselage.
And travel with an extraordinary array of goods.
Now we just need the spacecraft so we can load and then get out of Dodge.
From out-of-this-world giants, life-saving medical supplies.
It's a very good feeling knowing that every day we are shipping medication that could improve someone's life.
Perishables.
Nobody is in such a hurry as a dead salmon.
And components for some of the greatest spectacles on Earth.
21 races. If it took 3 weeks to get it there by sea, we need a 63-week year. We have to use air.
Put your seats in the upright position, buckle in, and prepare to go max speed with Mega Air. In this episode,
Go!
It's go, go, go! As we roar into the ultra-competitive world of Formula One.
If it doesn't go, we don't get it. If we don't get it, we don't race. If we don't race, I get the sack.
On a high-pressure pack to get tons of gear to the season opener in Australia.
People turn their TVs on, watch a 2-hour event, but what goes behind it is quite extraordinary.
Staying with Formula One.
Hang on, that's my foot.
We delve into its rich history.
Now we're just going to block it in.
Always remembering not to screw yourself to the case.
As a world champion's former motor goes airborne.
It's a historic vehicle, so obviously it's a bit special compared to the normal moves that we have. We're all happy.
And we follow every fraught step of a life-saving batch of pharmaceuticals.
The aircraft needs to be gone, or otherwise the flight is going to be delayed for tomorrow morning.
Halfway round the world to a pioneering medical facility.
We are stop unloading everything. Because we have a heavy rain and we have a lightning alert. We have totally stopped.
Banbury, UK, and base for the Haas F1 team. Players in the maddest, baddest sport on the planet.
If you talk to anybody in the freight industry or whatever, what you're doing, we're doing this, they just think you're mad. It's like a good game of Tetris.
Every year, billions of dollars are spent taking 10 teams, their cars and crew on a 9-month grueling global tour.
Everybody's got the role to play to make sure that these cars go racing 21 times a year.
Ready, go!
To reveal the inside track of the mind-boggling logistics to run in F1, Haas granted us exclusive access in the build-up to their 2019 season.
Unfortunately, you can't buy a Formula One car shipping set off the shelf, so everything's custom built.
And it all starts here. It's February. For a few short days, a sleepy Barcelona suburb becomes the base for the fastest and flashiest motor racing circus, Formula One. Just weeks before lights out for the season's first Grand Prix in Australia, The teams, technicians and drivers descend here for the all-important pre-season testing.
The day we have today is to shake down our VF19. It's the first time our brand new car has run. You basically want to try and hit the ground running. If you're going to have any problems, you want to have them today so it doesn't impact your full test program.
Today is our first test day of the year, and what you normally do on the first day, you just make sure that everything works on the car, try to get as much mileage in as possible, and get the first feeling of the car.
As team principal, Günther is the driving force behind F1 upstarts Haas. Since an impressive debut in 2016, they've put pedal to metal, finishing 5th in the 2018 Constructors' Championship.
Haas F1 is the newest team, the youngest team in Formula One, but we are here to stay.
There's a lot of secrecy in Formula One. Obviously, you want to keep your design somewhat out of the hands of the competition. You're trying to get that competitive advantage over each other.
But there is one open secret. Tireless planning and preparation translates to track success.
So the logistics in Formula One are very complex. When we do the flyaway races, we're taking 70 tons of freight. There's a lot of bits and pieces that you have to cart around the world, and then there's a lot of big ticket items as well.
We ship everything by air. It is quite intense, and you need to package very wisely because obviously it costs a lot of money. So less you send and better you package it, less money you spend, and you can spend that money better on developing the car, going faster.
So with a multi-million-pound move to race 1 in Australia days away, the buck stops with head of race team operations, Jeff Simmons.
That's a varied job, which is why I like it. But one of the main aspects of it is logistics and freight. Because of the timeline between the races, it's the quickest, most efficient way. It's air freight. We carry 11 aircraft pallets, which is why we know it's 34,000 kilos of freight, because that's what we send every time, approximately. F1 is very much a can-do attitude. We will always achieve it. There's nothing we can't do, really.
Fighting words indeed. As the Barcelona test winds down, the countdown begins for the start of the Formula One season.
Pack up tonight, get everything sorted, load the truck, send them back to Banbury, fly home, then spend 4 days loading the freight, and then fly out to Australia, build the cars and hopefully have a successful race.
The Swiss, famous for chocolate, holy cheese, penknives, and that good old phlegm-gurgling pastime, yodeling. Well, now you can add pharmaceuticals.
We have a lot of pharmaceutical industry in Switzerland. For us, this is very important. In Basel, we have the 2 largest pharmaceutical company of the world.
One of Basel City's big players is Lamprecht Pharma Logistics, and responsible for sales is Claudine.
We are a specialized company for warehousing and transportation of pharmaceutical goods. We're going now to the warehouse so that you see where actually the medicine you're taking at home are stored and how they are treated. We're just offloading here some goods which will then be stored into the racks. The whole building is temperature controlled, with pest controlled, so that really your medicine you're taking at home is safe and of good quality.
Ironically, the pharma industry can be bad for blood pressure. Critical emergencies are always ready to pounce.
This morning we received an urgent life-saving shipment. I'm not allowed to tell you exactly what it is. We have always to maintain the privacy of our customers. And a patient is waiting in Singapore for this very important and critical shipment. It needs to be kept at 2 to 8 degrees, all the way down to Singapore. We are now going in the cool room to prepare the shipment. Singapore is quite hot, so this is why we pack it in a passive packaging.
Think of passive packaging like a giant picnic cool box. But if it fails and extremely valuable drugs spoil, it'll sure be a bitter pill to swallow.
This is a special box maintaining the temperature of 2 to 8 degrees during at least 96 hours. These plates here are cooling elements. They have to be preconditioned at the desired temperature. So there is one layer on the bottom. There are cooling elements around, and then on top again we put cooling elements. So really the shipment is surrounded by the right temperature.
To ensure the cool box does indeed keep contents cool.
So I started. It's blinking.
A data logger is added.
We put it in here. We scan the label. And now the shipment can be monitored now online.
To finish, more cooling. Then anti-tamper strapping is added, and the box is ready.
The driver is here, the pallet is finished, and off you go, because we're a little bit in a time pressure.
This is crunch time. Leaving the sanctity of the temperature-controlled warehouse, the cool box will have to weather frigid Switzerland, then sweltering Singapore tropics on its 6,500-mile journey. At Swiss World Cargo's Operations Control Centre in Zurich Airport, Roman is putting plans in place for the incoming pharmaceuticals.
We just have received a phone call for a very urgent pharmaceutical shipment from Basel to Zurich. Will arrive in a few hours. We have already informed Cargologic to build it up according to the physical needs. And we are going to plan the shipment in the front compartment of a 777 because it is temperature controlled. And we are planning to load it right here. It is important to maintain the temperature of the shipment in the aircraft because it is going on a long-haul flight for about 12 plus hours. And therefore it's very important that it is stored according to its temperature needs.
With the clock ticking, the truck is making good progress on its 55-mile journey to Zurich. At the airport, handlers Cargologic specialize in processing temperature-controlled, time-critical pharmaceuticals.
And this is what I love about this place. The quality standard is always high, and we would like to keep it that way. Now we're expecting the truck. My colleague is informing me that the truck coming. We're gonna check the match between the documents and the shipment, if this is the correct shipment. And as you see, the shipment is being secured from all sizes because this is a special requirement of the customer. It's good now. After I give this green light, this shipment is ready to go to our warehouses.
Having passed its physical, the box is sent into cold storage to wait for boarding. But as we'll see, cargo hold-ups in the hold turn into a sticky issue.
So the aircraft needs to be gone before 11 p.m. or otherwise the flight is going to be delayed for tomorrow morning.
In Banbury, Haas F1 Team HQ is a hive of activity. The Formula One season is 10 days away, which means just 48 hours to pack a mountain of materials for air freighting to Australia.
We're trying to make cars go fast around the world, but we're also making sure that we get that stuff around the world. Formula One is no stranger to spending a lot of money, and that money is spent even on just the customization of freight boxes, pallets for cars to go on. It's not just as simple as putting 2 cars on the back of a truck and off they go. It's a case of all the equipment, all the tires, pit gun equipment, pit walls, those little things. Everything's got to go. Really, until you've kind of seen it for yourself, you just can't appreciate the sheer scale that's involved.
So, no pressure and no missing nuts or bolts for Operations Manager Tom.
Over the next 24 hours, as we get ready to pack all our air freight for Australia, everything will be palletised, packed up into the air freight, The cars, as you see them on the track, they comprise a chassis. They then have a front wing on the front of them. They have an engine, a gearbox, and then the rear wing on the back. We travel the cars as just chassis as they are at the moment. So that chassis will be put in, and then everything is then assembled at the circuit to make it a full car. Unfortunately, you can't buy a Formula One car shipping set off the shelf, so everything's custom built. This is how the chassis will travel to Australia, be put into that frame so it's nice and rigid. That will then be built up into a pallet and will then go onto the freighter to Australia.
The pit stop box is there.
Struggling to compute the number of moves that would make a chess grandmaster wince is operations chief Jeff.
So we've already started loading. It's Wednesday afternoon. There's 5,000 pieces that make up a car, but how do you break that down? There's a lot of pieces. There's 34,000 kilograms of pieces, ranging from car parts, nuts and bolts, to IT equipment, to clothing, to driver's equipment. The whole range and the people involved in the different jobs to get it on there is massive. These are containers. The ones with the angle on are a Q7. So basically what that's doing is following the contour of the aeroplane, and that's why you have the angle. The pallets over there, we've got a lower deck wing, the lower one, that's because it goes on the bottom half of the aeroplane. We can get anything up to about 4.5 tons worth of kit in those. We have 11 of them, 9 that we run to that shape, 2 that we, even I've got to think about that. We have 8 we run to that, 9 we run to that shape, 2 we run to that shape.
Jeff better be sure. With air cargo costing eye-watering sums, he's on track for a multi-million-pound bill to get cars and kit over to Oz. But he's no option.
We have to use air because time. We don't have time to wait 3 weeks. 21 races, and if it took 3 weeks to get it there by sea, we need a 63-week year, which isn't ever going to happen, not in my life. So we have to use air.
Rather than having all the loose bits at the top or little things like the air bottles, you can get that down here on the sub-assembly stuff.
There's no doubt the F1 pressure cooker can turn anyone into a quivering wreck.
That is not going to fit!
So, to let off steam...
Let's just have a little stretch out. We'll just do a couple of side twists first.
Jeff and co get in touch with their inner yogi.
Feel the burn. I don't want to hold you up. I know you've got a lot on, so once we get this done, because the last thing I want today is to hurt yourself. I need you on Saturday and Sunday to be on the aeroplane. Do the arm swings, try not to punch the bloke next to you. Cool. Right, let's rock it. But I do find it stressful. We don't exactly make it easy for ourselves, do we? You know, we're going to the farthest point from the UK in order to race cars, and if we haven't got anything, we can't go down to Halfords and buy a bit. It's unique, it's bespoke. If the paperwork's wrong, it doesn't go. If it doesn't go, we don't get it. If we don't get it, we don't race. If we don't race, I get the sack.
At Zurich Airport, a batch of life-saving pharmaceuticals is on its way to the cold storage centre, as handlers aim to keep it at a strict 2 to 8 degrees Celsius all the way to Singapore.
So we are at the moment here in our warehouse. On the other side, we call it airside because we are after the security control. We are going now to the flight preparations to palletize the shipment. Because it's a cool shipment, we have to bring it directly to the container to guarantee that the cool chain is not broken. It's all about keeping it cool as long as possible prior to the flight.
But outside, they may get too cool. The temperature is well below freezing, putting at risk the minimum 2 degrees drug storage.
This specific shipment to Singapore, we need to do a time-sensitive planning, so we can't just let the shipment sit at an open bay. It's very important that we keep the transit times short, and then we have to make sure that the shipments gets into a climate-controlled environment as soon as possible.
That means tonight, ramp manager Andre can't afford a single hiccup with the freight load.
We're in the process of loading the last long-haul flights for tonight, and we're loading it in order to fly to Singapore at 11:15. It's very important. People are waiting for these trucks to get to Singapore on this flight, so we need to load them on this particular aircraft as soon as possible.
The aircraft in question is a Boeing 777-300 passenger airline, equipped with a climate-controlled hold for temperature-sensitive cargo.
There's about 300 passengers sitting on top of the cargo compartment right here, and below the wing, which is everything about loading, baggage, cargo and stuff. You see here is the containers with your pharmaceuticals being pushed into the hold and then moved automatically to their loading position. And the positions for these pharmaceutical containers here is also reported to the cockpit crew in order to provide the air condition, the temperature it needs to be flown to Singapore.
As the final containers are loaded, the captain is notified what's on board and, crucially, where.
Do we have something special this evening?
Yes, we have some pharmaceuticals, valuables and temperature setting.
Okay, great. Pharmaceutical is in the aft. Well, we have low, that's 7 degrees, what we need today.
But minutes before departure time, in the hold, there's a hold-up. A container is jammed.
It's a challenge to handle such situations. Zurich is closing the airport at 11 p.m. So yeah, that's what we call a night ban. So the aircraft needs to be gone before 11 p.m. Afterwards, we have to ask for an exception, or otherwise the flight is going to be delayed for tomorrow morning.
But a strong Swiss shove does the trick. And just in time, the plane departs for Singapore.
It's the last plane that's going to leave Zurich tonight, so afterwards we're done.
But when they get there, the volatile tropics will put our pharmaceuticals back in peril. In a quiet corner of Sussex, the sheep, cows and ornamental pig at Starve Mouse Farm are blessed with an esteemed visitor. One that can only be described as bona fide racing royalty.
Big day today. We're preparing a Formula One car for shipping out to the Middle East. It was bought for around 1.1 million by a private individual, and we're sending it out to him to his home. It's not every day you get to be surrounded by amazing cars, especially Formula One cars. They're always locked away behind closed doors.
Yes, sitting in a giant freight forwarding barn is world champion Kimi Räikkönen's screaming banshee of a car, the 2002 F1 McLaren Mercedes.
I think that's a fantastic bit of kit, isn't it? Looks great.
A car that took teammate David Coulthard to Monaco victory, but sadly for Kimi, he crashed. Let's hope a similar fate doesn't befall our removal men as they crate it for air transport.
Never done a Formula One car, this is a first. Pretty much a square object in a square box. The only challenge is getting it up onto the base. We can't physically lift it, so we've got to roll it up. Very, very small ground clearance on it. So, you know, we can't damage it. I'm just going to mark where the car needs to sit, and then we'll be good to go. We've got to go up and flat. Because it's so low to the floor, I'm worried about it.
What's that, about an inch?
It's meant to hit the floor at 200 miles an hour, so shouldn't do it any damage, should it?
Well, time to test that theory.
Slowly, slowly.
Give the £1.1 million racer a shove and pray they don't get into an almighty scrape.
Yeah, we'll clear this end. Go on, it's looking pretty good. All back, go up. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Is this what they all dreaded?
Hang on, that's my foot. Lovely.
Not really.
Just got my foot in the way.
All right, you boys got it. Go on, go on, go on, go on, go on, all the way up to that timber. Right, we're there. You see?
So, apart from minor collateral damage, a few crushed tootsies, they've cleared their biggest hurdle.
That went about as smoothly as you were ever going to get it to go. Doesn't get any easier than that. Now we're just going to block it in.
Always remembering not to screw yourself to the case.
Just chocking it in so it won't roll backwards and forwards. We'll block it down the side as well, just to stop the front wheel turning. And then we're going to put straps over each of the tyres to stop the car from bouncing up and down. It's going to go on a plane. It's literally just to stop it from jumping out over the blocks and smashing into the case. Right, boys, crank them up.
It's going really well. The guys are getting it secured down onto the pallet, and then we'll start to get the sides on and build the crate up around the car. We're crating the car fully because it's a bit more delicate. There's a lot more intricate parts to the car, the carbon fibre, bits that could potentially, break off if it was out in the open, so it's just safer to have it in a crate.
Just an hour after they first laid hands on her, the F1 car...
Fingers. Not your fingers.
...is fully crated.
Very nice.
Once it's carefully placed on the lorry...
Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Keep coming, that'll do ya.
And next stop, the plane.
Kimi's former car is sent for onward transit to the Middle East.
It's going to Luxembourg, flying a cargo Lux freighter. Smooth as anything, easy, nice, no dramas, apart from running over Michael's foot. There you go, he's got another one.
And with that, the team hot-footed. Four days later, Kimi's car is on its final call for loading at Luxembourg Airport.
Today we're loading Kimi Räikkönen's car from the Formula 1 of 2002. It's a historic vehicle, so obviously it's a bit special compared to the normal moves that we have, and we're happy to be part of that story. From the outside, it's just a box transiting through Luxembourg and connecting our Boeing 747-8 today onto Doha. It's a case of approximately 1,400 kilos, which on an aircraft that can carry over 130 tons is just a drop in the ocean.
Well, Eric, never underestimate the power of a drop. Once the Formula 1 box is loaded onto a Boeing 747-8 that combines impressive range and efficiency, millions of frozen drops threaten their slick schedule.
Right now we're de-icing the aircraft. We have around 0 degrees Celsius here right now, so obviously these are the critical temperatures that we need to be vigilant before takeoff.
A quick spray to lubricate those frozen wings, and the aircraft is ready to fly.
All good. Everything's back on track. We're all set. We're just waiting for us to clear the aircraft, close the doors, and send the vehicle to its destination, Doha. We're all happy.
Minutes later, the giant 747 soars into the skies, bearing the ultimate plaything for some very wealthy new owner in the Middle East. In Banbury, the Haas F1 team has just one day to pack for the first Grand Prix of the season, 10,500 miles away in Melbourne, Australia.
Here we are in the race base. We are preparing for the freight to Australia. We have everything built and packed in 12 hours from this point. If we get to Australia and we have too much work to do, we miss sessions. So when we're here, we try and achieve as much as we can with the spare parts and build spec that we have to allow the least amount of work to be conducted when we're at the track. The fragility of the components is a key thing to take into account. One, because we don't want to be repairing them when we get to the track, but also these are prototype builds. So any damage, whether on the track or transport, is unacceptable.
Despite the factory racing flat out to fill 11 air freight containers with thousands of car components, track racing is still paramount.
Well, we're just about to do the final pit stop practice of the pre-season, really. Next time we do pit stop practice will be in Australia, so obviously the pressure's on me to squeeze it in while the guys are trying to pack all the cars up and all the freight.
A blistering pit stop can be the difference between a place or disgrace. So Race Operations Chief Jeff is looking for perfection.
So all I want to do now is I just want to do 10 really good stops, nothing more than that. Because I suppose now it starts. I know we've done the testing, but I suppose this is where it starts. Between all of us working together, we can hopefully make a difference. So that's the little speechy bit over with. So we all ready, yeah? Go! So nice warmer upper, static again, ready, go. Okay, roll the car. .2.1, I think that's the best one of the year so far.
A 2.1 seconds full tyre change is world class. Now, they must do a lightning fast pack if they're to be ready for the Australia flight.
This is a spare chassis. This travels in this spare chassis box. We need to try and get it in there. With it being a new chassis, it's slightly different to what we've put in there before. There's a lot of other spare components that go around the box as well, so yeah, it's the first time it's gone in there, so let's hope it fits.
2.6.
Just be careful of the old side pods as well. I remember last time we had a sketch for that. Down,
No, I think it goes the other way.
I don't think it's going to make a difference turning around.
No, that's right.
Happy with that?
There's a different detail on the roof of the box. So, yeah, trying to wedge things in and making sure it fits. So, it's just the old classic jigsaw pack-up we're doing. It's like a good game of Tetris.
And we're losing.
Yeah, we're losing quite badly at the minute.
Eventually, after much head-scratching, the pallet puzzle is solved. But just as one problem is put to bed, another far bigger one threatens to slam the brakes on their Australia race plans.
It's racing. We're driving these cars to the maximum, and you can almost guarantee that on Friday, in Australia, we will need brake duct spares of some kind. We're struggling to get them finished in time for the main freight, and we're going to be struggling for time to get them in the late freight.
How much time do we need on them?
Well, we're looking at 3 hours a corner or something. So yeah, that's right. We haven't finished the first corner yet, so we need more time on them here.
Okay. Let's get what we can done, but let's reconvene again in a couple of hours.
Yeah. It's just about making sure we have the right parts to protect ourselves. Brake ducts work in a very hot environment and is very liable to damage, whether that's a miscalculation from engineers due to temperatures and we burn some stuff, or we have an accident. Going to a race without any spares it just can't be done.
But just as the wheels are coming off the Haas juggernaut and brake ducts may miss the plane to Oz, Communications Chief Stewart takes one for the team.
People like myself occasionally will have to take that extra suitcase with them just to make sure that a part gets there. That's part of being a team. That's part of being a good teammate. You're prepared to do whatever it takes because it's important that every component that we need, plus spares, is there in Melbourne.
So it's all systems go again. But it's now 9 p.m. and the freight truck to the airport goes at dawn.
We spent 2 hours on one set of the fronts. And this is the kind of thing that holds us up in Australia. This is the kind of thing that we end up working all night.
Changi Airport, Singapore. Our shipment of life-saving drugs from Zurich has just touched down.
Today we have pharmaceutical products on board. And this aircraft is Swiss Air Alex 176 from Zurich. Once we unloaded the containers with pharmaceutical shipment, we will get the driver as soon as possible. They will send it to our Kupot site.
For this temperature-sensitive medication, maintaining a constant 2 to 8 degrees Celsius is critical. So the less time outside in the sweltering 31-degree tropics, the better.
Yeah, this is a medication. Yeah, it's from the aircraft just being unloaded, and we are put on the pallet dolly, and this will be transported to a Kupot immediately.
But even best-laid plans can't compete with a furious Mother Nature.
Wow, it's raining now, it's heavy rain. Yeah, it's really heavy rain. I'm wet. Okay, arrival, we have pharmaceuticals I need to quickly send to Kupot. Yeah. Can you get the driver to stand by here? We have stopped unloading now because we have heavy rain and we have lightning alert. They will definitely slow us down because we have totally stopped operation now. We have stopped operating everything, we have stopped unloading everything. It's very dangerous for us to work around. Because of weather, we have no choice about it.
But 30 minutes sustained assault from the elements, Franco is compelled to act.
Can't wait anymore. We have to expedite this shipment to the Kupot. There's still lightning going on. Other than that, we have stopped everything.
With the airport on lightning lockdown, this is the only container processed. Now the question is, have the life-saving pharmaceuticals survived their brutal barrage?
I'm waiting for our cargo, our pharmaceutical cargo, which is arriving into Kupot from a Swiss Air flight, which is from Zurich. Because it's a temperature-sensitive cargo, where if it's not kept in a certain temperature, the cargo will be spoiled. So now the shipment is here. So what I need to do next is to take the temperature of the cargo. So far, the temperature is between the range. This is how we do the check. See whether there's any damage. And so far, it's so good. Everything's fine, everything's smooth, and now it's on its way. I'm very, very happy.
The penultimate part of the shipment is to distributor Zelig Pharma, where our drugs must get final clearance.
So right now my colleague is checking that we received the right shipment. What they'll do next is they'll cut the plastic straps and unbox the items. This is a data logger. We have stopped it. It means that we have received the shipment within the controlled environment that it's in. So in this way, once we download the data and check that the products are kept within the required temperature range during the transportation process.
It's the moment of truth. Despite the delays and hostile weather, they've remained within the temperature range the entire journey, meaning they can be safely delivered to the medical facility.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Last.
Okay.
Okay, can you
Very
check?
good.
Confirm?
Okay. Yeah, confirm.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, here we go. All yours.
So this is a very important pharma medications. It's all the way come from Zurich. The patient is waiting for that. Checked it over. Quantity is fine. That's what we order. And expiry date is okay. And very fresh. Okay, so I'm sure my patient's very happy. And now I'm gonna put this drug into my refrigerator.
So after a testing 6,500 mile journey, the pharmaceuticals can be given to the patients. Let's hope she doesn't muddle the medicine with the milk. In Banbury, the Haas F1 team is burning the midnight oil as they scramble to get 34 tons of car and kit ready for dawn transport to the airport.
That front frame that you've got there by your knees, Carl, is going to sit in that section there. 3, 2, 1.
And one of the last tasks is slotting the main race cars into their protective freight frames.
The whole chassis is mounted into a frame and then loaded into an air pallet. Bolted down, nice and tight, covers on.
With thousands of components needed for the Formula One season opener in Australia.
You need more, Tobes?
Right, okay, down.
Everything must be precisely packed to optimise every square inch of the freight containers.
Putting one of the security seals on, so you've got one on each corner. Then you know if it's been tampered with.
These are the two chassis ready to go to Australia. The mechanics have finished building them. They're bolted into the air pallets.
Now it's down to mechanic Rob to faultlessly forklift the pallets into the truck.
I've done it loads of times before. It's just with this one, it's a different car, so it's different diameters, different setup, different wings, different noses. So it should, by top designers, fit like an absolute charm. I've got no doubt.
Well, there's only one way to find out. If they don't fit, it'll be a major spanner in the works.
A lot of money worth of cars.
Tilt forward. Yeah, go on, a bit more, mate. Job done.
It's 1:03 in the morning, last pallet's going on, been a bit later than anticipated, but everything's on. Seal it up. The next time we hopefully see that will be in Australia in 4 days' time.
Next stop, East Midlands Airport, for a strict 2 p.m. airside loading slot. And 63 miles later, Haas's 11 containers arrive safely, where they're met by DHL's Vice President of Motorsports, Paul Fowler.
Behind me you'll see the Haas team's just arriving. I know the guys have been working hard from Barcelona to now to get these here. I'm sure there were some sleepless nights, and they're on the final leg obviously before loading. The event's going to happen on Sunday and we have to be there for that. Delay is not an option.
The aircraft entrusted with delivering Haas's cars to Melbourne, Australia, is a Boeing 747-400 freighter, dedicated today to transporting all the UK-based Formula One team's cargo in its cavernous belly.
We've got a 747-400. The payload is going to be approximately 100 to 110 tonne, with around 38, 39 containers, all full of Formula One equipment. So do we want to go on board and have a look? Okay, follow me. Okay, so inside we've got a converted 747. When we start off the load will all come through the rear entrance. We'll start loading the lower forward first to put a bit of counterbalance forward to the aircraft, so it stops the aircraft from tipping back. Once the rear of the aircraft is loaded, we then go downstairs to the lower hold and load the rear lower hold. So in a couple of hours' time, hopefully, fingers crossed, I should have approximately 100 tonne of Formula One equipment on. I should have somewhere in the region of about 90 to 100 tonne of fuel on. I should have all my crew members on that's ready to fly, all the flight plans, all the air traffic clearance, and the ground crew ready to push the aircraft back. And I'm hoping approximately 2:30 this afternoon, in about 2.5 hours, the aircraft should be airborne and well on its way to Melbourne. Fingers crossed.
Well, time to put words into action and get the Formula One show on the road, or up in the air, for the mammoth 10,500 mile flight to Melbourne in southeast Australia.
Some of these teams are spending 300 million upwards to produce this equipment and these cars. There's no replacements back at the factory, so we've got one shot at this. The weight is critical, so every pallet's loaded and then distributed evenly. You can't have them flying nose high or tail low because they'll use more fuel. It's like playing adult Tetris. We've got a million pieces and we've got to get them in the right place at the right time, at the highest skill level, but we don't get to say game over. As we've gone over time, it's evolved and we've kind of ironed out all the creases, so we don't have time for failure or delay, to be honest.
As promised, the last container boards promptly by 2 p.m. and the 747 is ready to begin its long journey to the other side of the world.
But that's the aircraft now fully loaded, fully fueled and ready to go. The next stop, Melbourne. People turn their TVs on once on a Sunday afternoon and watch a 2-hour event, but what goes behind it is quite extraordinary.
When the checkered flag fell in Australia, Haas F1 team would claim an encouraging 6th place and 8 valuable World Championship points. Next time, there's more crazy cargo, more fabulous freighters, and more demanding deadlines to hit, as Mega Air cranks it up to the max.